Hey YouTube, Untamed here. One question that I get asked all the time on my videos is, what happens to the cars that never sell? We're talking the new inventory that sits on dealership lots for over a year, sometimes 2 years plus. What happens to those vehicles? In today's video, I'm going to highlight the many things that could happen and really the most likely. I'll save the most important bit for last, so stick with me. For starters, it's important to note that dealerships take on the responsibility to sell the vehicles as soon as they accept the allocation and delivery of their vehicles. Every single car, truck, SUV on a dealership lot is on a line of credit, which is referred to as the floor plan. The flooring costs that are applied to every single vehicle is much like a credit card. Every single month that ticks by, there's a small interest rate being applied to that line of credit for that vehicle purchase for the dealership. So when so many vehicles are sitting on a dealership lot for several months on end, sometimes 1 year up to 2 years, I've seen many examples of vehicles sitting for over 2 years, that dealership is paying a ton of money in interest to keep that vehicle there. Generally speaking, the first 90 days is interest-free on most inventory. Most vehicles, a dealership is not paying an interest rate to keep it on the lot. It's after those first 90 days is when they start getting hit with those small fees per vehicle. I say small on purpose, but when you have hundreds of vehicle inventory, that's when it becomes a problem for dealership. It begins bleeding them out. Let's face it, it is the greedy dealerships that are getting stuck with inventory. It's the dealerships that have refused to discount their vehicles accordingly and appropriately, right? It's the dealerships who are charging markups throughout the pandemic are the dealerships that are getting stuck with it the most right now. They refuse to let their vehicles go at a good price. And it's pretty pathetic to see. They just are so greedy to the point where they just refuse to let the public benefit from these vehicles sitting on their lot. Whenever you go to a dealership and they have several examples of desirably trimmed vehicles that generally sell or fly off the shelf, look at the price tags. Those are the dealerships that are forcing you to buy their extended warranties, or their bogus protection plans, or their nitrogen-filled tires. They're slapping with all these additional fees and markups. Those are the dealerships that have, surprisingly enough, the huge inventory of desirable vehicles. I went to a Ford dealership not that long ago, and they had, I think, 10 or even a dozen Ford F150 Raptors sitting on their lot. Normally speaking, you never see maybe more than 1 or 2 Raptors sitting. That's because this particular dealership was charging $10,000 markups over MSRP still. Here in 2025, they're trying to get 10 grand over a sticker on a vehicle that's often being sold at invoice. One thing that you see from dealers that have failed to sell a vehicle for a year plus is they will then begin offering incentives to their sales reps to try to move that inventory. So pretend they had a, let's say a Chevy Silverado High Country, priced at $80,000, $85,000. It's been sitting on the lot for over a year at this point because it's wildly overpriced for what you get. Let's face it, now you're trying to advertise or try to incentivize your sales reps to move that inventory. So you're saying, hey guys, I want you to try to sell that High Country out there. If you're able to sell it within the next month or so, we'll give you an additional $1,000 toward your commission. So that is one thing that we often see. Dealerships trying to incentivize their sales staff first before even adding to the discount of the vehicle, which is pretty pathetic, right? How can they benefit internally before trying to benefit you and I, the consumer? Another thing we see from dealerships is they will use their unsold vehicles as demo vehicles for their management staff. They don't just issue it out for their sales reps to drive around, but their management staff within the dealership, they'll allow them to drive it home and use it as a demo vehicle, quote unquote. And after several weeks, maybe even months of allowing a vehicle to remain a demo vehicle, they'll then push it to their service loaner department. So whenever people bring in their vehicles for a service or maintenance on their vehicle, they will use that vehicle as a loaner. So it went from a demo, then oftentimes they'll be pushed over to their service department to be a loaner vehicle. One thing that's important to know is every vehicle manufacturer will incentivize the dealership to move vehicles to the service department for this purpose. So they get a little bit of a monetary kickback from the manufacturer. Again, that helps kind of lessen the blow, lessen the burden for these dealerships, because eventually they're going to have to sell that vehicle or sell it through auction or wholesale it, and they're going to take a loss on it no matter what at that point, after being a demo, being a loaner. But at that point, they at least made a little bit of money from the vehicle manufacturer. Brings me to today's video sponsor, and that is Last Fit Floor Liners. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know that I don't normally, quote unquote, pimp out my channel and do a lot of these paid sponsorships, but I do it when I believe in the product. The Ford Raptor also has some Last Fit floor liners in it because they are exceptional. In the Suburban, it is more important for my family because this is the family hauler, as you'd imagine, right? We have 5 little ones, all under the age of 9. And well, as you'd imagine, the interior of this vehicle becomes a disaster extremely quick. So I'm going to show you just how exceptional they are. I'm always very pleased with this product. And well, I went the full 9 yards in the Suburban here. We got full coverage from the very front to the far back. So now we can take the pups on adventures with a little bit more peace of mind that they're not going to completely destroy the cargo space of the Suburban here. So obviously the cargo mat right here, but it also extends upward into the backs of the 3rd row there, which I thought was pretty neat. If you're like me and you have a large family, you will certainly appreciate the added coverage of the last fit floor liners. Before I put these in here, I did have, thankfully, some all-weather mats in here before, right? They were the OEM ones, but even compared to the OEM all-weather floor mats, these provide much better coverage. So I'll even have better peace of mind with these moving forward, because let's face it, no matter how hard you try, the kids will make a huge mess of your vehicle. I'll show you here a quick glimpse of what it looked like as I was cleaning them out before putting these in. It is quite the disaster, but that's inevitable. It's a price you pay when you have kiddos. As the name would entail, they are laser fitted to fit your vehicle perfectly. Go on to LastFit's website, check out their year, make, model of your vehicle, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that they'll have an offering for you. So check it out. I'll leave my affiliate link to LastFit in my video description below. Please feel free to check them out. They always have very quick shipping, and their price tags compared to the competition are much better. Go into my video description below, use my affiliate link, and if there are any added discounts being applied at any certain time, I'll be sure to update my video descriptions appropriately so you can use that to add on to the already very well discounted price tags of these. But I caution you, vehicles are meant to be driven. If a dealership is finally offering a substantial discount on a vehicle that's been sitting on their lot for several months on end, perhaps a year plus, be very leery of what that vehicle is. If it hasn't been driven much, there is a chance that there could be problems with that vehicle at this point. Lot rot is a real thing. I know that term's thrown around loosely all the time, but it does exist. The tires, get a good look at them. If they've just been sitting in one position for so long, that can be problematic. Same with the internals, right? They're supposed to be driven, the oil pumped through the engine, their internals lubricated. They're not supposed to be sitting stagnant. So be aware of what you're buying. Take it to a mechanic that you know and trust. Have them look it over before you end up signing on the dotted line. Another thing that dealers can do is they can send their vehicles, new inventory included, through wholesale, through dealer-to-dealer auctions. They don't like doing this for a number of reasons, but it is a last-ditch effort to move that metal off their lot, to get it off their floor plan, if you will. By doing so, they're losing out on any opportunity to send a customer through their finance office. The finance office is another cash grab for any dealership. They know that, right? That's where they can try to trick you into buying the bogus protection packages, the ceramic paint protection, windshield protection plan, extended warranties. That's where they pump up the price tag tremendously. Not to mention, that's where they have the opportunity to upsell your interest rate. So they'll obtain a loan for you, they'll get a buy rate for that loan, and then the sell rate to you is a higher interest rate. So be aware of what the buy rate is versus what they're actually trying to sell it to you as. So another opportunity for them to make money off of you through the finance office. And well, they can't do that if they auction off the vehicle. And on the note of wholesale or auctioning off new vehicles, dealers will often do that for the sake of not setting a precedence with their vehicle sales. Meaning they would rather take a 40% loss on a vehicle through auction versus taking a 30% loss through selling it to you and I, the consumer. They don't want to set a precedence. And that's pretty pathetic to say out loud, but that is the truth of it. They'd rather just sell it off real quick and then not set that standard for anyone within the community to believe that, hey, I got the vehicle at this much, you should be able to get it for that much too. Avoid setting that precedence, which is why they auction them off instead. Although not so applicable today, one thing we saw so many dealerships do during the pandemic, really throughout the last 3 to 5 years, is they would sell their quote-unquote desirably trimmed vehicles to their sales staff at MSRP, let them drive it around for a month or two, and then buy it back from that sales rep, only to sell that vehicle as a used unit then at a premium or at market value, quote unquote. So instead of selling their new inventory with a markup or with an addendum, they would rather sell it to their sales staff, sell it, quote unquote, let them drive it, and then bring it back into the dealership, only then to charge the markup on that vehicle, if that makes sense. They did it to skirt the system. They did it so they can still say, hey, we don't sell any new vehicle over MSRP. A lot of dealerships beat their chest with that tagline. They made banners with it, signs posted all over the dealership. No vehicles sold over MSRP, only to bring in used vehicle inventory to skirt that system. Pretty sad, huh? All of this begs the question, what happens if a dealership goes belly up? What happens if the dealership goes bankrupt? Well, all the vehicles currently on that dealership lot will be returned back to the vehicle manufacturer. They'll go straight back, pretend it's a Ford dealership, all of the inventory will go back to Ford. Ford will then have a decision to make. They can then redistribute those vehicles that were on that lot to other Ford dealerships, reallocate them to other Ford dealerships, maybe try to reposition some vehicles that sell more successfully in different regions. Perhaps if it's an EV, they'll send it to Colorado. They'll send it to more EV-friendly cities and locations and states, right? If there's more of a bunch of trucks, they'll maybe send it up to Montana or Wyoming. They'll send it to regions where those particular vehicles will sell best. If there are so many vehicles that are very old, new old units that are maybe 2 years old sitting on that dealership lot, they have a decision to make. Sometimes, believe it or not, the vehicle manufacturer would rather scrap a vehicle for their vital parts, pieces, and components and the metal rather than trying to sell it at a substantial discount new. It's all about brand reputation, not giving the brand a black eye, if you will. So instead of giving a huge discount to the public, 40% off or 50% off this Ford F-150, instead of doing that, they rather scrap it for the parts, pieces, and components, and they do that. In my personal opinion, dealerships have a prime opportunity to thrive right now. Even if it means selling a lot of their inventory at a loss, what are they doing? They are building a positive reputation within their communities and earning returning customers moving forward. Even if it means not making any or too much money right now, it is very important to just try to build that loyalty base again with their customers. The loyalty base at many dealerships were quick to flick to the curb during the pandemic when they were charging markups, right? So right now is a prime opportunity, offer great deals, huge discounts, and incentivized interest rates, earn those returning customers, right? Heaven forbid we have that again. That's what's important. But so many dealerships have gotten the taste of greed. They're like sharks with blood in the water, unfortunately. Because let's face it, there is no supply crisis like we saw during the pandemic. Supply far exceeds demand. So because of that, I want you to know that you are absolutely in the driver's seat when it comes to buying a vehicle. If your local dealership isn't willing to play ball, well, pick up the phone, drive 30 minutes up the road, go to a different dealership. Right now, the best superpower that you have when it comes to buying a vehicle is your ability to walk away from a deal. Walk away from a deal, and I guarantee it, that dealership will be blowing up your phone to try to get you to come back in for an even better deal on the vehicle that you're interested in. So don't be afraid to walk away. There's an abundance of inventory out there. And if your particular vehicle is very special to you, it's a very certain trim, just know that it's likely still just up the road at the other dealership. Wrap up the video there. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune into these videos. If you appreciate this type of content whatsoever, I do respectfully request that you please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a ton, and I promise you it doesn't go unnoticed. Let me know what you're seeing at your local dealerships. Do you see what I see here in my community? Lines upon lines of unsold inventory? Or are they selling vehicles left and right? Tell me what you're seeing. Thanks for watching.